Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about section 2. Section 2 is about quadratic equations by graphing. Like I said, you are going to have to remember to use graph paper because we want it to be neat, even though you are kind of estimating in a little bit. Now remember from the first section, our quadratic function is ax squared plus bx plus c, where now we are solving for quadratic equations. So now it is going to be ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So we are going to solve for certain parts of the equation here. So now we have to find a solution. In order to find a solution, we only have one variable. That's why we're setting it equal to 0. So to find a solution is also saying to find a root. The root, or in simpler terms, it is the function when y is 0. When y equals 0. And for most of you guys who know what we're talking about, it is considered to be the x-intercept. Now that is the main portion of what we're doing here, is we are looking mainly for the x-intercept. If you can find the x-intercept here, then you should be able to solve for the solutions. Now we are going to take a look at a couple of the models that we are going to do. The models of solutions. Models of solution, we have 3 of them. When the parabola touches the x-axis only at one point, it's considered one real root. Or one real solution. If the parabola touches the graph at 2 points, this is 2 real solutions. And of course, lastly, is when the graph does not cross the x-axis at all. This is called no real solutions. So let's take a look at an example of this. We're going to write an example of this section let's see if we can graph it properly. We have 8x minus x squared is equal to 16. Now again, what we're going to do here is we are going to check out one thing. We're going to solve for a solution, which means we are definitely setting it equal to 0. So first we are going to move everything to the left side. Now in this case, if you move it to the right side, the graph is different from section 1. Remember from section 1 that because of the left and right side, it makes it go up or down depending on A. Remember, if A is positive, the graph is going upwards. When A is negative, the graph is going downwards. Alright? So over here, we are going to move everything to the left, not to the right, because it will give you a different graph and a different solution. So we're going to move the 16 over to the other side. We get 8x minus x squared minus 16 is equal to 0. if I rewrite this, it will be negative x squared plus 8x minus 16 is equal to 0. Now we are going to graph it. So when we graph this function, we must consider the function. Consider the function y is equal to negative x squared plus 8x minus 16. Because that way, that's the only way you can find all the points for the solution, all the points to graph. So let us consider the vertex. Where this is negative b over 2a, which is equal to negative plus 8 over negative 2, which equals to 4. So now we have to find y, and if I plug it back into the original problem, if I plug that back into the original problem, we should be able to get 0. So my vertex will equal to 4 and 0. So let us start with that graph so far. We know this is going to go downwards because of that. Because of the negative x squared, we know the graph is going to face downwards. It's going to open downwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. So at 4 we have a function here. Now what we're going to do is see if we can find anything there. Now in this case we don't really have to graph much, but to be on the safe side, we are going to find 2 more points, just in case. We don't really need to do this because we already know the graph and we can approximate it to be going downwards. So in this case we will probably have one solution. But for the sake of argument, or for the sake of making sure that we're not screwing up our problem, or if we mess up or not, we are going to try and find 2 more points and see if it actually works out the right way. So we plug in 3, we get negative 1. So far so good. If I plug in 5, 8 times 5 minus 16, so negative 5 squared plus 8 times 5 minus 16, that also gives me negative 1. Remember, when we're doing squares here, this negative is not part of the function x squared. So we are going to have to use parentheses. Make sure your parentheses are correct and your order of operation stays satisfied. So there are my other 2 points, and yes, our graph is going to go downwards, still holding true to what we labeled as our graph. So now the last thing is, what we're going to do is we're going to tell us the graph of the solution. There's only one solution.